This is Zach at One Thought Growth. Welcome. I am so excited to share this information with you, to share this knowledge with you. It is so important. It's had such a huge impact on my life. We're really going to be investigating, examining where are these invisible chains that are holding us back? What are they? We're really going to get to the foundation of what it is that makes up our experience as a human being. What is it that's holding us back, and how can we change that? You see, for a long time, I really focused on 3 tiers in terms of development. If I felt a certain way, I would say, well, if I change my behavior, I'm probably going to feel better. And that worked a little bit. Then I realized, wow, thoughts really important too. I don't like having these thoughts. So I just need to change my thoughts. And then my thoughts will, just be better, and then I'll just be better. But I didn't understand that at the core of it, at the root of it all, is actually our core beliefs about the world, about ourselves. What did I believe that thought was? What do I believe? What do you believe that thought actually is? Some people think that thought is real, and every thought that goes through their head is their own individual thought, right? That's an agreement that you have with yourself. That's a belief. And that belief is going to turn into thought. And then you experience your thought through feelings and emotions. And then through that interconnected dynamic manifests your actions, your behavior, habits. So if we want to make long-lasting changes, if we really want to transform our life in all the different ways that's possible, the infinite ways that are possible, well, we have to begin to take a look at core beliefs, core agreements that we have with ourselves, with the world, and with our place in the world. And to me, this really goes back to that aphorism that was etched into stone at the Temple of Delphi 2,000 years ago that said, "Know thyself." And to me, that never meant at the personality level. The personality is just the manifestation of a much deeper part of you. It's a manifestation of your soul. But in order to really know how we can manifest that true nature that's inside of us, we have to understand and know how we operate as a human being. So this is a 5-part series. Today's video is all about the foundation. And then in the next 4 videos, I'm going to give you a ton of changes that you can do in your life. Very practical, very real. So let's get into the video. So what are your beliefs about yourself? What beliefs do you have about the world? Where did these beliefs come from? Why are they so important? Why do they shape everything? Why do they create your reality? Well, as I alluded to earlier, our experience is created in this sequential order. Our beliefs shape our thoughts, and then we feel our thoughts. And then through that, we behave, we act, we make choices, we decide things. And really, it's moving in this order constantly. And then more often than not, our experience validates our beliefs. Let me give you an example. So in high school, I really did not like Spanish at all. I believed that I couldn't learn the language. I fell into the common belief that said, oh, we don't have enough time to learn languages. We start so late. After that, I went to college, and something changed in me. I changed my belief. I really decided internally that I could learn language. 2 years later, I was studying in South America at one of their top universities in Spanish. But that all began because I changed the belief. Now, where do our beliefs come from? Well, we're going to really examine this through the eyes of Don Miguel Ruiz. He is the author of the 4 Agreements. He comes from the Toltec tradition. This is an ancient tradition that originated out of what we now call Mexico. And these people really practice sacred, esoteric, spiritual traditions that really shared that essential unity of truth that all of these mystery schools and esoteric traditions are rooted in. So let's kind of examine this in the eyes of a child, or let's kind of go through the lifeline. So a baby's born, and when they come into the world, they're completely neutral. They don't have any beliefs yet. They don't have any identity. They don't know language. Really, they're simply experiencing. There is no past. There is no future yet. There's not even bad nor good. They definitely begin to learn quickly, comfortable and uncomfortable, things like that. But there's no identity created yet. However, the world is already existing. All these agreements, all these beliefs are already there. So as the baby gets older, as we get older, we begin to see what these are. And the first agreement that we partake in is language. Language is an agreement. 26 letters that we agree upon. And those 26 letters create the entire language. But the whole thing's based off an agreement. We all agree that the letters, the alphabet, is true, is real, it's there, right? Because if we didn't believe in that, well, it wouldn't work. So in the background, there's an agreement occurring. And this is the first part. This is the first agreement that we go through. After language, we continue to become integrated, conditioned into society. And this is done through attention. Attention is always foundational. What we pay attention to is always so important. Now we get our attention directed. We get our attention hooked onto how we should be, how we should act, based on the agreements of everyone else. And as we get our attention, we begin to learn, okay, if I act this way, I'm going to receive more attention. If I don't act this way, I'm going to be rejected or neglected. And naturally, we want to receive attention because the attention makes us feel good. We are social beings. There's nothing wrong with wanting to receive attention, especially as a young child. So as we keep growing older, as we keep aging, we keep accepting new agreements because we're young. We don't know anything better. And as we're doing so, we're constantly going through this acceptance and rejection phase or experience where as if we do something really well, we get attention, yay. And if we don't do it well, we get rejected, we don't get attention. And as we're doing this, we're beginning to shape our beliefs. And our beliefs are becoming what society's beliefs are. They begin to affect us. And without question, they become our beliefs. Now, this is great in many ways because, for example, there are a lot of good beliefs, a lot of great agreements that come out of this. Values, morality, ethics, taking care of each other. However, there's a lot of corruption in our society in the way that we think, in the way that we see the world. How many times do you hear people say, well, that's just the way it is? Oh, there's starving people in Africa. That's just the way it is. We don't have enough energy for them. That's a belief. That is not true. You believe it's true. I don't believe it's true. Right? That's based on belief. Now, what's really interesting is as we go through this development, as we begin to get older, there's oftentimes a part when we rebel a little bit as a teenager or so, especially if we're feeling like this just isn't right. We often rebel because something internally, that authentic part of us is not agreeing with everything that's going on. It feels off. It feels bizarre. It doesn't feel natural as we begin to see what these agreements are. But sooner or later, we have to obey. And that is encouraged through our education system, which is a Prussian-built education system. The Prussian Empire, sitting in a classroom, obeying 25 students, one teacher, raise your hand, right? Building a really good citizen, something that obeys, that is not an environment that is creative. I've worked in the schools. I have most respect for teachers. They do a great job. But that setting is not built, it's not constructed to allow creativity to flourish. It can't be. It's just not built like that. It's built so that we learn to obey. Now, after school, after we go through all of this experience, and then it has everything in there. This isn't about good or bad. We're trying to get a framework for how things are. After we go out of school, after we become an adult, eventually we don't need other people showing us how to be anymore, because we've created something inside of us. Something's been created, actually. And that is what Mr. Ruiz calls the Book of Law. So the Book of Law is really our belief system. It's where we hold all of our agreements. And agreements are simply things that we believe to be true about ourselves or about reality, about others. And these agreements can be conscious or unconscious. It doesn't matter. The effects will be the same. They will still have an effect on thought and thus our experience. Now, what's so interesting is because of the process that we go through, the conditioning as a child, into adolescence, into teenager, into adult, this Book of Law, we basically have been trained to learn to obey it. And we're constantly kind of living between this paradigm of our own belief system. And what's really interesting about that is he also mentions this trichotomy that occurs. So we have the Book of Law, which I just mentioned, and then there's the judge. So the judge is the part of us that's obeying the law, that's saying, well, you can't do that, or you're not good enough at this, or you have that, right? It's the one that agrees with your belief system. And that's really interesting. That's really powerful, because there's something inside of us that agrees with our beliefs. And also, beyond that, there's a third part to the trichotomy, which is the victim. So the victim is the one who receives really the pain of the judge in the Book of Law. You're not good enough. You're not where you're supposed to be, right? And then Mr. Ruiz mentions we suffer many times because of a mistake that we've done in the past, or because of these beliefs that we have. There's a lot of suffering involved. So all of this is about transforming out of that, changing this Book of Law into what I call a book of possibility. A book of possibility. It's not about necessarily eradicating the belief, so you have no belief at all. Because beliefs, foundation, brings a form of security. It does bring a framework of life to mind. And that's helpful. That's important, right? It's like when I was 5 years ago, I was trying to escape ego, escape identity, have no identity. And that's possible in experiential moments, but to just completely eradicate the ego is almost harmful, because the ego provides some foundation to life. It just needs to be managed well. So with this, we want to get rid of the judge and become the observer. Begin to watch, to observe, this archetype that I always like to call the watcher. And then finally, we want to trade the victim to become the creator. So if something's not serving us, we want to create something new. Let go of something old and bring in something new. So these are the new trichotomy that we're going to try and create. But all of this circles back to agreements, to beliefs that we have about ourselves. And the next 4 videos, we're going to get into 4 new agreements. Things that we can do, things that we can apply that will change the Book of Law. And these are things that have worked for people. They've worked for me, and they've worked for millions of others. So join us in the next video. My name is Zach. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, please like, please comment, whatever it is. It's all appreciated. And thank you, and I'll see you soon.